Michael Jackson is Jesus Christ, Michael Jackson is Allah, and Michael Jackson is the future. Michael Jackson is the only person that's ever owned their own plastic surgery. And the idea that you own yourself as another being, again, he became the man in the mirror. So, you know, you own the object that you can create for yourself, you own the object of yourself. Is a kind of step forward again within psychoanalysis from what I can see. So the idea that you change yourself physically, I think will be more and more important as society goes on. I think if you look 20 years ago, the idea of plastic surgery was very radical, and that's why he was vilified so much then. The idea now isn't at all strange. So the pioneers of early plastic surgery, the pioneers of early body modification will be seen as I don't know, will be seen as class traitors probably amongst the reality or nothing brigade, but they'll also be seen as people that were at the forefront of ideas of the distillation of the concept of the idea that you mutate to survive, and the idea that society has to mutate to survive.
So I'm going all over the place here, but I was really inspired the first time I went to Japan, or to Tokyo, and was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing there, that it was, that it was like juxtaposition was living side by side. So you get this like amazingly beautiful kind of, you know, Zen-like temple, and then this like vulgar kind of games hall, sort of Baroque, Rococo looking games hall right next to it. And then next to that you would get like a skyscraper, and then next to that there would be a man selling pegs in a basket, you know, just in front of the skyscraper, or by a wooden hut or something. And when I first went, I was just like, what is going on here? What is this all about? How are these people living side by side? How is this working? I don't understand. It was everything that I wanted it to be, but it was more, and I couldn't get to grips with it. And I was asking my guide who took me, and they were saying it's because the city is very transient. It's very nomadic, and he said, you come back in a couple of years' time and to this area and it will have completely changed, and then you come back in another couple of years and it will completely change again. And so I'm incredibly nostalgic about the horse hospital, and it is a very, very permanent place, and that's why I feel very sort of like honoured to be in its presence. But I know also that I'll have to move on at some point. I won't be here forever, even though it probably will be. Clothing has a similar kind of feel. It's like it's transient. It moves. It's sort of, it has an energy of its own. It's kind of it doesn't have to be locked in one place. And the funny thing is that the whole culture in this country is about being in one place and having a foundation and things being permanent. And I'm so sort of anti that in a way, and yet I have to live with it.
If I lived in an ideal world, I think my notion of fashion would be much more to do with aspects of my body that I don't have other than clothes. So if I live in an ideal world, I'd have a prehensile tail, and that would be my kind of most desirous fashion object. But obviously that would have a practical use, and I think the idea that we're getting towards the absolute greatness and necessity of prehensile tails within our culture is a fabulous backwards and forwards of evolution, and the idea that we'll get to that point where we can have our own useful objects. Magnetic implants in fingers, that's what they're doing. The club kids are doing them at the moment, where you can pick up stuff just with your fingertips, and that's a beautiful kind of concept. the idea of eye implants, all of that sort of stuff, I think, obviously is an interesting development of fashion, and certainly one that I see people who come into the horse hospital developing in their own way. Our bartender at the moment has just been tattooed all the way down one leg and is having the inside of the tattoo, the black work, removed, so he's having all the skin peeled out. And that's a basic one, but he's also had plastic implants put in, split his tongue so it's a snake's tongue, and he's kind of developing that idea. And I'm sure that if he could have a tail, if he could have 3 eyes, he'd definitely go for that. Eyes in the back of one's head. And maybe that's an idea of the notion of changeable self will come further and further into the idea of hiding, so that you'd be able to hide yourself and then change yourself and then come out as something different overnight, ideally. I think each form of fashion has to develop and create itself as a reaction to that which society is imposing, as opposed to being a mere reflection of society. And that's the idea behind fashion. Eventually, the idea that people in the French Revolution wore red bows around their throats, actually, to represent the idea of we are the guillotine to society. And there are various ways that we can develop that now in order to benefit the autocratization of society through fashion.